Hey, house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 22 updates and spoilers. Yay! Our house guests of the day are Carol Zamochen Miller and Deirdre Marie. Thank you both so much, ladies. We appreciate it so much. We could not do this without you, so thank you again. And if you guys want to be house guests of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. Yay! Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Saturday night, and we're getting ready for that POV, right? Okay, so before we get going, I want to thank our super chatters from yesterday because you guys are awesome. We've got Angela H., Mike D., Lisa Grimes, Jefferson Tucker, Marilyn Bolton, Jefferson Tucker again, Caleb N., and the real VB. Thank you all so much. You're incredible. For real. So yeah, when we left off yesterday, Cody was preparing to put Kevin and David up on the block. Big surprise there. And Kevin is Cody's number one target this week because Cody is afraid that Kevin is targeting him, which he kind of is. He kind of really is. And he has been for a while. So yeah, Cody's like, who else would potentially put me up on the block? Honestly, probably not a lot of people. So he's thinking, I got to get Kevin out of here. But according to his conversation with Enzo, if the veto is used, Christmas would go up as the replacement nominee. And depending on who is up on the block with her, Christmas could become the new target. So if Kevin is still up on the block, he's probably still a target and Christmas would stay. But if David is up on the block with Christmas might go. What? Okay. It would also depend on how she handles herself up on the block, because if she has a meltdown and starts freaking out, she might be out of here. All right. So Nicole was not happy to hear about Cody's intentions. She said, you're doing Danny's dirty work, and she doesn't like that. But even worse, Nicole says this would be the third jury vote in a row that I'm screwing over. Girl, I don't see you winning this season. It's not going to happen. You've had a lot of screw-ups, but also, Nicole came in with a disadvantage of, if you can call it a disadvantage, of being a former winner. And a lot of people are not going to want to reward her again when there's somebody else maybe against her that hasn't won yet. So the chances of Nicole actually winning are pretty low. But Cody is saying ideally he would like the nominations to stay the same. He wants Kevin to go, but he also wants Christmas to stay because he would like Christmas to win HOH and go after Danny so that they don't have to do it, right? So yeah, Nicole was also pissed because Danny called her out for talking to Cody for so long. Danny was like, you've been talking to him for an hour. It's so crazy. I'm not kidding. And Nicole was coming downstairs from the HOH room, and Danny was yelling up to her from the kitchen. So Nicole was she yelled it in front of the whole house. She was not happy about that. All right. So anyway, also she was not up there for an hour. But you know how Danny is. Anybody that's talking to Cody, it's too long. Anybody that's not her, too long. Okay, so meanwhile, Christmas was talking to Kevin in the storage room, and she's feeling really bad about having to choose him to be a have-not. She just had to do it. So she apologizes for picking him. She says, I feel terrible. And Kevin's saying, it's okay. I would have just liked a heads up because I remember that's what you were so upset about last week when you got chosen. You wish you had a heads up. So just a little surprised that you turned around and did the same thing to me. So Christmas says, yeah, I had a lot of pressure to make that decision. She said, I feel terrible. I feel guilty. And Kevin's like, for have-nots? What? He keeps telling her, it's okay. Don't worry about it. And Christmas is like, I'm sorry for not giving you a warning either. I had a lot of push for that. She keeps saying she had a lot of people pushing her to make Kevin a have-not. So Kevin's like, who pushed you? Give us the tea. But no, Christmas doesn't want to say. She's not dropping any names. So Kevin tells her again, don't worry about it. Oh, she's passing the buck. So then Kevin, a little later, is thinking out loud in the lounge. And Kevin says, when I talk to Cody, I'm going to let him know that people are making me look at him sideways. Because Christmas told me that she was told to make me a have-not. So Kevin's like, it makes me wonder why someone would want to weaken a potential nominee. Yes, Kevin, keep going. So he's like, who would tell her that? Who would tell her to pick me? So Kevin's like, being in this house is such a battle. This shirt really attracts hair. But anyway, Kevin says being in this house is such a battle. It's so uncomfortable. He says, I just got to win the veto. I've done this before. It's possible. You know, I have the ability to save myself with the POV. So he said he's hoping that people are going to get distracted by the prizes and not go for the veto this week. Because remember, because of the whole like neighbor week twist, whatever, there's going to be prizes available in the competitions. So Kevin says if I don't win veto, then I need to start having conversations with people that will make them think that I'm less of a threat than David. Because at this point, David has Tyler, which means he's probably with Cody because those guys are tight. So he says, I need to figure out who would be interested in disrupting that, you know, that group of guys. Maybe Christmas and Memphis, maybe. But he says if David is in with Cody and Tyler, it's sealed. Like, it's not looking good for him. All right. So then a little later, Kevin does have his one-on-one chat with Cody. This is a pre-nominations chat for the ages, you guys. Maybe in another season, this wouldn't be like super interesting, but like, what do we got going on right now? This was like a huge deal for this season. So there was just like really bad vibes going into this chat. Because remember, Cody was telling Memphis before, like, I'm really not looking forward to these pre-nominations chats. And Cody was in the bathroom at the time when Kevin walked into the room. So Kevin was just waiting. And while he was waiting, he looks at the camera and makes a gesture like he's hanging himself. And he's like, this sucks. Ooh. Okay, so Kevin is like, Cody, what can I do to not be nominated? Please don't nominate me again. And he was like kind of saying it in a joking way. He smiles. Cody laughs. So it's all like lighthearted at first. But then Kevin's like, seriously though, like, what can I do to help you? And Cody says, I got to ask you something. If you won HOH, would I have been nominated? And Kevin's like, what? No, what? Cody's like 100% no. Kevin says 100% no. Kevin has definitely been targeting Cody for a while. And before Davon left, Kevin and Davon were discussing putting up some combination of Cody, Tyler, and Enzo because you got to break up that like guy trio. You just have to. And Cody is not buying what Kevin is selling. He knows that Kevin has been targeting him. So Kevin's like, I told Danny who I was going to put up on the block. And Cody's like, I haven't talked to her. I don't know her. She hasn't said anything like that to me. Sure, Cody. So Kevin says, I'm sure you're allies with Danny. Ask Danny. Oh, what? Okay. So like there was a little bit of like a right there, but it's going to get, that's just a little taste. So anyway, Kevin says that Davon wanted to get Cody out because she thought that Cody was the reason that she was put up on the block. He was part of it. He was definitely pushing for it. So Kevin says, yeah, Davon felt like Memphis was being weaponized by you. You wanted to use Memphis to take her out because you were in an alliance with her called the Slick Six. When he hears this, Cody like poops in his diaper because he knows that Davon like downloaded a bunch of information to Kevin before she left, but like actually hearing it back in his own ears, he's just like, ugh. So yeah, I think he's freaking out in this moment. But Kevin is like, I was not involved in all that stuff. That was Davon's stuff. That was not me. I'm just trying to move forward without getting blood on my hands. And he says, coming after you would be blood on my hands. Again, Kevin is straight up lying. But anyway, they talk about all the word vomit that's been happening this season. There was like some general discussion about like different game things, like the jury and everything. So Kevin brings up how Christmas just earlier today pulled him aside in the storage room. And he says, Christmas said that somebody told her to pick me to be a have-not to weaken me. Okay, so I just want to clarify here. Christmas did pull him aside and say that somebody told her to pick him. She did not say to weaken him. He just kind of like figured that out and tacked it on here. So Kevin's like, who would try to weaken me? Like, what's the deal with that? And Cody's like, oh, she said that? Because Cody was in that conversation with Christmas. Tyler was the one that actually said that. He did say, pick Kevin to weaken him for the Power Veto competition. Cody was present for that. But anyway, Cody says, yeah, like everybody tries to pawn off shit on other people so that you don't get mad at them. Like that's what's been happening this season. So then they talk about like jury management and bitter juries and how like when you're the HOH, you got to have a reason to target someone or else they're going to be like really mad that you're just like taking shots for no reason. So Kevin's like, is there a way I can help you? Because at some point people are going to start firing at you, you know, you're going to need backup. So then the fees cut. Stars were like in and out for a little bit at this point in the conversation. So Cody's like, I gotta say again, like, I think that you would have put me up on the block if you won HOH. You would have. And Cody says, that's what Ian told me. Thanks, Ian. But Kevin says, Ian was the one who gave me advice on who to put up. And we talked about me putting up Memphis if I won HOH. Nah. And he says, Ian is the one who told me his theory about how, Cody, you're connected to everyone and everything in this house. You know, it was like Ian's core / octopus theory. So Kevin's saying, Ian must have twisted my words around. What? So weird. So Kevin's like, it's not fair that I am guilty by association because of Davon and like what she was doing in here. And he says, I'm being connected to something that I had nothing to do with. So then they talk about week 1 and Cody is saying like, I never wanted to nominate you. I wasn't targeting you. And he admits that he wanted to target Kaser, but then, you know, Kaser won the safety suite. So he couldn't put up Kaser or Janelle. So then this is where the conversation takes a turn. Because Kevin says, if I'm picking up what I'm picking up, I'm going to be nominated this week. We have issues with each other. And he says, I think we're just doing like a tit for tat thing and I'm just going to have to win the veto. So Cody's like, I don't necessarily think it's a tit for tat thing. I'm not saying that you're my target. I don't have a target this week. Yeah, he does. And it's Kevin. But Kevin's like, all right, so you did not have a conversation with whoever is going up against me on the block and tell them that they're not the target. And Cody's like, no, I don't have a target. Like, you can ask the other person after nominations and see. He basically told David that he's going up and that he's not the target. He didn't say the words like, you're not my target, as far as I know, but like he pretty much told him that. So Cody's like, you know, I hope you're going to respect what I'm doing. I hope you're not going to be bitter or pissed. He says, you know, you can feel however you want to feel. That's up to you. But like, I hope that you're not going to be bitter or pissed. So Kevin's like, just like you feel some kind of way, I have the ability to feel some kind of way. So then Kevin brings up the jury and he's kind of implying that like, he's going to be pissed if he goes. Like he says, when I get to the jury, like I'm not going to be influenced by what other people are doing. Like I'm going to have my own way of picking who I want to win and it's going to be cute. He did say that. He's going to make his own decision on how he's going to vote. He's kind of implying like, I'm not going to vote for you to win if you do this. So Kevin's saying like, I don't think it's fair when people tell me that I should be having more conversations with people and like it's my fault that I don't have like better connections with people, because he says the conversations always seem to stop or pivot whenever I walk into the room. That's so sad. He says there's a clear energy shift whenever I enter the room. So Kevin says the die has been cast. What I'm picking up is you're saying that we're on opposite sides. We didn't really talk, and it sounds as if I was coming after you in your head. So therefore, that's why I'm going to be nominated. And Kevin is saying, again, we're having a tit for tat. That makes it easier for me when I vote. So Cody's like, wait. So are you saying, like, whoever puts you up and, like, if you leave, if that person is in the final two, you're not going to vote for them. That's basically what he's saying. But Kevin's like, well, it's sounding like that's what you're setting up here, like a tit for tat situation. They said tit for tat like so many times last night. So Cody is pissed that Kevin knew about Davon wanting to target him and didn't tell him. And Kevin is pissed that Cody heard this rumor that Kevin wanted to target Cody, and he didn't come and like clarify that with Kevin. So they're pissed at each other for pretty much like the same bullshit. But yeah, it gets crazy after that. So then Kevin is annoyed because he feels like Cody is putting all of this on him, and like Kevin is the reason that they don't have better communication. Like he's not taking responsibility for it. So Kevin says, the world doesn't revolve around you. You know, Cody was talking about that all night last night. So then Cody's like, that's an unnecessary thing to say. And Kevin's like, oh, poor you, Cody. Like, you got to be the HOH and put me up and target me. Are you kidding me? Because, I mean, this is something that we've seen over and over, especially this season. A lot of the HOHs this season keep, like, they're being, like, super emotional about it and being like, I'm so sorry that I had to put you up. Like, it's so difficult on me. How do you think the person you're putting up feels? It's a little bit ridiculous. But anyway, how many times have we seen the nominees comfort the HOH this week? It's crazy. So Cody's like, when did this conversation go in that direction? Like, I feel like you've got like a personal thing towards me now. Like, you're throwing digs at me. So Kevin apologizes and he says, this feels hella petty right now, and I'm not trying to be petty. He says, I'm going to be cool this week. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to play for the veto. And he tells Cody, you do what you need to do. And he's telling Cody, like, honestly, it's been a blast so far this season. And he's like, I think we should, like, stop talking here because I don't want you to be big mad. And I can see that you're big mad. Cody was definitely big mad. But Cody's like, I feel like you're the one who's feeling like this and you're like trying to turn it around on me, and I don't like that. So the conversation pretty much ends there, and I gotta say, like, this conversation was not great for Kevin on a game level. You know, it looked like Cody was opening up to the possibility of getting rid of Christmas instead of him this week. I mean, obviously it's going to come down to what happens with the veto, but it looked like it could be moving in that direction, and now Cody definitely wants Kevin out. But at the same time, I can't imagine how frustrated Kevin must be at this point. This is going to be his 5th time up on the block, 2nd time by Cody. And I just got to thank Kevin for finally giving us some entertainment. Like, finally, we get to see something good happening here, something exciting. So after that conversation was over, it's time for the retails, of course. So Danny was in the HOH room with Cody right after, and Cody's saying, well, that conversation went horribly. Yes, it did. He is ranting about it to Danny, and Cody had heard earlier, I think from multiple people, that Kevin called him like a child douchebag. So he wanted to ask Kevin about that, but then he's like, even in my anger, I didn't end up asking him about it because I didn't want to go there. So then Danny, all calm, is like, so it didn't go well? No, it did not. But Danny's like, I told you, he just doesn't like you. Like, now you see it. So Cody says he would have snapped at Kevin if they were in the real world, and he's saying it's clear now, the way things went in that conversation, that Kevin does not like me, and he's probably been targeting me. That stuff that I've been hearing is probably true. So they agree that Kevin is probably going to be like the most bitter jury member of all time. I don't know. There have been some really bitter ones. And Cody says that reflects more on Kevin than anyone else. Sort of. I mean, sometimes, like, it's justified, you know? But anyway, Cody says about Kevin, like, being bitter, potentially, don't ruin the integrity of an all-star season because you're just bitter. I cannot listen to Cody talk about ruining the integrity of an all-star season when he is like Mr. Pre-game alliances. It's a little bit ridiculous. And when I say a little bit, I mean a lot. So Danny is saying, oh, Kevin never really found his place in the house this season. Like, he did try in the beginning, but it was too late. We already had our stuff in place. That's what happens when you come in with pregame alliances. Even trying something in the beginning is not soon enough. I don't think she was admitting, like, we had something pregame, but that's what it sounded like. So anyway, Cody was talking about then how he hates when people judge him based on how he looks. And Danny's like, I don't agree with what you're saying. Because Cody is implying, like, people will assume he's a certain way because he's, like, attractive. And Danny's like, I think your personality to some people comes off very strong. She says, if I didn't hang out with you and see the other side of you, which I very much enjoy, and she says, if I only saw, like, the loud, obnoxious side of you, I can see how people would think that you're a certain type of way. Oh, she is telling him about himself. So Danny says, I've been trying to figure it out, and I feel like you're trying to channel early 2000s Nick Lachey. She says, like, between the tattoo with, like, the barbed wire or the thorns or whatever, the headband that he was wearing, and, like, the tank tops and stuff. Honestly, like, I see it. It did read very, like, Nick Lachey. But Cody's like, do you think this is why Kevin got pissed at me? Because he hates my look? And Danny's like, I'm going to ask him if he hated 98 Degrees. So, like, they're joking at this point, but, like, I had to include that because Chelsea Brooklyn tagged me on Twitter and was like, this is hilarious. So, Chelsea, what's up? It was pretty funny, but also, Cody sucks. Okay, so then Danny asks Cody, what were you and Nicole talking about for an hour? She just cannot help herself. So Cody says that Nicole is upset because the people that she's close to keep going up, because obviously potentially Christmas could be going up as a replacement nominee. And Cody is still saying, like, yeah, that's his plan. If somebody wins Power Veto and uses it, like, Christmas will be going up. But ideally, he wants the nominations to stay the same, and he wants Kevin to go. Okay. So then they have the nomination ceremony, and surprise, surprise, Cody put up Kevin and David for eviction. Okay. So then after, Kevin and David chat in the lounge. They're block buddies again. How many times is this going to happen this season? It's ridiculous. So Kevin tells David, you are staying this week. There is, like, no scenario where you don't stay. Obviously, if you win the veto, you're safe. If I win the veto, you're still going to be safe because Cody's going to put up somebody that's going to end up being a bigger target. Like, you're going to be fine. If the nominations stay the same, you're going to be safe. I'm going to go. And David's like, I don't feel so strongly about it. Like, I don't know if that's true. But David says, you know, it really would have been great if Cody would have put up somebody that hasn't touched the block yet. Right? Like, that would be great. But he says, why would Cody do that when he has the numbers? Like, it just wouldn't make sense. So, like, he sees what's going on here. So then Kevin is talking about his conversation with Cody and how bad it went. He says Cody got big mad, and it's pretty clear that Cody is targeting him. He is setting up a tit-for-tat situation. So then David says, you know, Cody is always trying to find an angle to disguise his, like, true reasons for doing things so that he doesn't look like an asshole. Yo, that is so right on. That is, yes. I've noticed this with Cody and Nicole specifically. Like, they are looking for any little misstep that they could use as, like, a reach of a reason for targeting someone. It must be, like, a season 16 thing. But yeah, Kevin is saying that Cody wants to be liked by everyone, and he's like, bruh, not everyone has to like you. I don't have to like you. It does really seem to bother Cody. So Kevin is saying, like, Cody lives in a bubble, and normally people are swallowing what he serves, but, like, not now. So Kevin especially doesn't like that Cody tried to put all of the blame on him and be like, I'm putting you up on the block because of what you did. Because he really tried to make it seem like it was Kevin's fault for not talking to Cody more. But that really is, like, a two-way street. So that did not sit well with Kevin. So then David was like, you know what? I really respect someone like Memphis. Because, like, even though he's an a-hole, he says that Memphis does not beat around the bush. He owns his decisions, even if he knows, like, people are not going to like them. He's not trying to, like, pass it off onto somebody else. Oh, my God. Can you imagine if Memphis ends up winning this season? Because it's like that. Can you imagine? Ah! All right. So then Cody talks to Christmas in the key bedroom, and he's telling her about the conversation with Kevin, of course. I'm not going to rehash everything again because, you know, Cody had this conversation a million times. So Cody said, this part is important. Cody says, Kevin said that you told him that somebody told you to pick him for have-nots to weaken him. So again, just to clarify here, Tyler told Christmas to pick Kevin to be a have-not to weaken him. He did say that. Cody was there for that conversation. And Christmas then went and told Kevin that people put pressure on her to choose him. She didn't say to weaken him, but Kevin kind of just assumed that that was the case. And he tacked on that part about weakening him when he brought it back to Cody. Okay, so yeah, Cody says, you know, Kevin told me this, that you said this. And Christmas is like, 100% not true. It's definitely at least like 75% true, but okay. So she says, good to know. She says, when I went and talked to Kevin, I told him that I didn't want to pick him because he's been a have-not so many times, and I felt bad about it. You know, she's covering this up. So then after Cody leaves the room, Christmas talks to the cameras a little bit. And she says, Kevin, the little snake. She says, you could have a team, Kevin. You could have people working with you, but you decide to throw your girl under the bus. Are you his girl? So she says, I saved you week 1. I was your replacement nominee. You're welcome to make sure that the real target went home and you didn't go up. I'm going to come back to that. I made sure that you stayed last week against Davon. These reasons are a little bit ridiculous. Like, you're telling me you were the reason that he stayed in week 1? I don't think so. You're telling me that you were, like, doing Kevin a favor by being the replacement nominee when he saved himself from the block when Enzo was HOH? It's so bizarre. It doesn't make any sense. Like, he was part of that. What? Also, you were not the reason that Kevin stayed last week. It was because other people wanted Davon out. But okay. So then Christmas says, this guy is exhausting. He's a freaking rucksack on my back. I legit have done so much for him in this game with 0 return. So she says, now you're going to throw my name out there? I don't even have to be nice to you this week. Okay. She says, I'm not going to be mean, but I'm not going to fake the funk. And then my favorite part, Christmas says, I gave him my effing fried rice. Not the fried rice. Oh my God. So then she says, I was making dinner for him. Get the F out of here. You played yourself, Kevin. But, like, I can't believe she's complaining about the fried rice and, like, all this stuff that is not game related when she, you know, had her fit, her HOH week when, you know, Bailey was not separating game from personal. That freaking fried rice, man. Hilarious. Okay, so anyway, Kevin and Cody both continued their retails tour. Lots of fun. And then Kevin and David chatted again in the lounge. And David says, all right, I want to make a deal with you. If one of us, you know, does win the power veto and comes off the block, we should agree that we're not going to vote the other out, no matter who goes up as a replacement nominee. And Kevin says, deal. They shake on it. I mean, I assume that they would have supported each other anyway, but David's like, we just need to, like, do this so we don't even have to question it. And Kevin's like, absolutely. Okay. So then they're talking. They're not sure who Cody would put up as the replacement nominee if the veto is used. But Kevin says, you know what? Anybody who goes up next to us would be a high value target because they got to all start going after each other now. And he says it would be a really revealing moment to see who would go up. They're really hoping that other people in the competition are going to go for the prizes so that they'll be able to win because they figure, like, nobody else is going to want to, like, stick their neck out to use the power veto on one of them. So like they really need to win it themselves. So then later, things like really calmed down a bit after like all the retells. So then later, Danny and Nicole had a game chat in the photo bedroom, and Nicole's asking Danny, who do you want to go the most this week? You know, is it Kevin or is it Christmas? And Danny says, I want Kevin, David, and Christmas gone. Well, there just so happens to be a triple eviction coming up, but like, how much of a bummer would it be if Kevin and David both left in the triple? That would just suck. But yeah, Danny says it feels like we're getting ready for war because they've just got like Kevin and David left, and then it's like all people that they're working with. So it's really going to get dirty moving forward. So Nicole's like, all right, well, what would be the most beneficial for us moving forward? And Danny's like, I don't freaking know. You know, as far as guaranteeing us another week, I guess it would be better to keep Christmas because, you know, there's still another person that we have to get out technically before the committee is going to start going after each other. So like maybe she would honor that. But then Danny's like, Tyler and Christmas, they're already trying to recruit David. Yes, they are. And Danny's saying, you know, I think we have Memphis on our side. I wouldn't say our side because I think Memphis is the tightest with like Cody and Enzo and like probably Christmas. He's definitely not tight with Danny and Nicole. He does not trust them. So yeah. She thinks that they have Memphis though. So then they agree that things seem unmendable with Kevin and David. They figure out of anyone in the committee, like Kevin and David are probably coming after them, Nicole, Danny, and Cody, because of like all the voting stuff and like the lies. So yeah, Danny feels like all these people are coming after her, which is pretty much true. So then, you know, Danny's also saying Kevin and David are probably not as likely to win competitions as Tyler and Christmas. So it's really, she can't figure out who should be going. So Danny's saying we're going to need to see what happens with this power veto. If Christmas does go up on the block, the core four has the votes to do what we want. You know, if we want to take out Christmas, we could definitely make it happen. We wouldn't even have to tell Tyler about it. We wouldn't need his vote. And you also got to remember, it would be 3 votes without even factoring in Kevin or David if they're off the block. And you got to assume like they're going to vote for the other to stay. So yeah, the votes would be there to get rid of Christmas. But Nicole's like, well, if we're not like including the rest of the committee in on this, like we definitely have to win HOH after that. So you're telling me you weren't trying before? But Danny says we could also potentially like make a deal with Kevin and David, like try to strong arm them and say like, we'll keep whichever one of you is still up on the block if you promise to work with us moving forward. Yeah. So anyway, today it was a slow start to the day. They did the power veto player pick a little bit later in the day. And we've got Cody, Kevin, and David playing. And then we've got 3 extras, Nicole, Enzo, and Tyler. So keep in mind, of course, it wouldn't be a veto competition without Tyler playing, right? How does he get picked like every single time? So I also want you guys to keep in mind, it is OTEV. That's very exciting, but it's also a very physical competition. There should be prizes up for grabs because of the theme this week. And Christmas is pissed that she's not playing. I mean, I think she's frustrated that she hasn't been chosen for like almost all the vetoes anyway, but also like she knows she could be in trouble this week. She knows that Danny is pushing for her to go up on the block. So I think she was freaking out that she doesn't have a chance here to protect herself. But Nicole was telling Cody, like, I am gunning for that power veto because she wants nominations to stay the same. She does not want Christmas going up on the block. Memphis is also nervous about Christmas going up on the block. He was talking to Enzo about it, and he was like, I got this sneaking suspicion that Cody might put up Christmas if the POV is used. So, like, we got to make sure that that doesn't happen because I don't know how the votes would go. So it's going to be an interesting comp. the Power Veto competition should be happening tonight. If you guys want to check back later, we will put the winner in the info below. Should be fun. You gotta love OTEV, right? Yeah. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching today, for chatting, for hanging out.
I love OTEV.
I love OTEV too. Hi, Bowie! Yay!
Our next dog, we should name OTEV.
I don't know about that.
Never.
Hi, baby.
Guys, make sure you check out the puppet show. It's probably not going to be up till tomorrow morning.
But it's fun because Zingbot is on.
It's Zing!
You gotta love Zingbot. Okay. Super chatters. Let's do it.
I'm not crying. I just cut onions.
Okay. I want to thank all of our super chatters. Ashley Barnett, thank you so much. Sheena123, thank you so much. And Sheena has a question. Who from BB5 and BB4 would I have liked to have seen on this season of All Stars? That's a great question.
Somebody who's not getting a double hip replacement. Because it was so long ago.
Let's see. Season 4. Was that
Allison?
Oh, I'd love to see June come back and play again.
Yes.
For sure. I was hoping that she was going to be on this season.
I was hoping too, but you know that was not going to happen.
I mean, June and
Julie.
Yeah. June has said a lot. She's really spoken out against Julie, so I had a feeling like that was not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. I do love June though.
Oh yeah, of course. She tells it like it is. Season 5, I would say I would love to have seen Diane come back. Diane Henry. She was a badass. That would be fun, but you know, she was on the first All Stars and she had a serious case of jealousy. So I don't know. She was like the original jealousy queen. Well, I guess that's not true because people on season 6 had it too. But yeah, I don't know. Those are my 2 picks without like looking at the casts again and like figuring that out. But yeah, thank you for your question and thank you for the super chat. This lady, thank you so much. Julie is waiting for you. She said, stay right there, lady. I've been enjoying that. Patty Kitten Guru, thank you so much. Michelle Noel Creations, thank you so much. Lonnie Boyette, thank you so much. KT Keller, thank you so much. And KT says, sent a video of 2-year-old daughter doing intro and outro on Twitter. Oh my God! Just wanted to make sure you saw it. That is amazing. I'm so sorry. I haven't been caught up on my tweets lately. A lot of times, like, I'll, tweet when we're doing the lives and stuff, or I'll like things here and there that I see when I'm looking at updates and working on the spoilers and everything. But I get so far behind in my mentions, so I apologize if you guys have tweeted at me or DM'd me or like DM'd me on Instagram.
She's in the trenches.
I'm in the trenches. I will get back to you. I will get back to you eventually when I can. I'm trying. I'm sorry. I gotta, find spare moments when I can to try and catch up on that stuff. So if it's a little while, I apologize for that, but I will get to it. But that sounds adorable. I can't wait to see the video of your daughter. That sounds so cute. So thank you for doing that. And also, M. Marie COJ, thank you so much. You're a rock star. Right? On my daughter's birthday. All right, guys. I gotta go. I got D&D again. It's a crazy double D&D weekend. So
D&D.
Yes. Thank you, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. And until then, much love.